If you're experiencing health challenges like Lyme disease and everything else associated with it, i.e., co-infections, mold, gut issues, immune system issues, everything that comes along with it, this video is for you. And me showing up here is also for you. I'm here for you. You're not alone. And this entire channel is set up for you. So hit the subscribe button if you're new here. My name is Ryan Kearns. I had Lyme disease back in 2016. It affected my heart and it was really scary. It caused me to faint a couple of times. I went to, got rushed to the ER to try and figure out what was wrong, had to see multiple different specialists, got passed around in the medical system, and finally I figured it out. And what I did was I took an all-natural approach. I tried everything in my power to heal holistically from the ground up, and I rearranged my lifestyle to make sure I could do that. Now I help other people do exactly that same thing. And I started LymeWars.com, where we create a protocol and a training system around getting better from Lyme disease. So if you need the system, if you need the step-by-step approach, we've got it all laid out for you. Exactly what I did, step-by-step, exactly what now thousands of other people have done. And at the end of this presentation, I will be taking questions. So go ahead, post your questions in the chat whenever you want. But again, I will answer them at the end. So really today for me was about showing up and being consistent here. I'm not going to lie. I don't have a big presentation set up or some deep thing to specifically discuss. I do have a few notes, but nothing crazy and deep. I wanted to just make sure that I stayed consistent with my practice of showing up every single Wednesday for the people that are going through it right now, the people that are experiencing health challenges, specifically with Lyme disease and co-infections and everything else we already named. Now, me showing up and giving consistency is really about practicing what I preach, because at the end of the day, the most consistent approach over a long period of time will win when it comes to health and healing your body from the inside out. It's not going to be the most intense thing, the most exotic thing, or the most complex system that gets you through. It's actually simple, boring, predictable habits done day in and day out that move that big giant boulder up that mountain and get you out of the hole that you're currently in with your health. So me showing up today is about practicing what I preach, because, I always say you've got to be consistent. You've got to stick with it for the long term. And so today I wasn't prepared fully for this live like I usually am. I'll usually have some slides and some pictures and everything, and I go deep into each one of them. But today I just didn't have time, and things got a little bit out of hand. My kids are home from school for snowstorms and ice storms and everything that's going on, and so I figured I was helping them with homework and stuff, and I was also just figuring out a couple of extra things that I had to get done. And then I remembered, oh wait, I go live on Wednesdays for the Lyme Healing Circle, so I jumped in here just to make sure that I remain consistent. Even if it's not going to be the best presentation I've ever done, or I'm going to have the most energy when I come into it, or I'm going to be extremely prepared, it is an opportunity to practice consistency. And I've been trying to look at the world in ways like that lately, where things can be opportunities. Even something boring and lame like waiting for something to happen is an opportunity to practice patience, which is a virtue that I want to have in my life. And so these mind frame switches can change the way you feel moment to moment in life if more people adopted some of these ideas. But, another thing that I have here in my notes to talk about today is fear of changing. So often, people stay stuck because they have a fear of changing their current habits, or fear of too much change too quickly in their life, which totally makes sense. I mean, we're wired for survival, and survival is often boring and predictable. And if we just switch everything up at the drop of a hat, it's not a stable system. It's too variable. It's too crazy. It's too much going on for a lot of people. And so there's a fear around that, but there's also a fear around other parts of that as well, like loss aversion. Loss aversion is, you know what? I'm actually going to look it up right now just to make sure we get the most accurate definition here. Loss aversion is a cognitive bias where the pain of a loss is felt more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. So that's very interesting. So sometimes we cling on to things because we're so used to them that having, to lose those things hurts more intensely than the pleasure you would gain in an equivalent amount, if that makes sense. So let me try and dumb this down. So many people are holding on to their routines or the way that they think they need to be in the world, even if it's not working correctly. So even if they're not getting the results that they're after, they can say, I don't want to stop doing this. I'm afraid of I'm afraid I'll lose all my progress. I'm afraid I'll slide backwards. I'm afraid the things that I'm doing now actually matter a lot and that I'm going to lose everything if I do something different. And so, meanwhile, they don't know that letting go of those things that they're currently doing is the only way they'll get to where they actually want to go. And that loss aversion keeps people stuck for so long. A lot of times it's just about the length of time they've been doing something, and that's really the only decision factor. It's an emotional decision factor that we make. If I've been eating a certain food for my entire life, how likely am I to stop eating that food, even if it's going to result in better health outcomes that I want to achieve? It's less likely, especially if it's thought of as a healthy food, right? If I'm thinking, okay, this one food is the way to go no matter what, and I keep eating it and eating it, at some point I'm like, all right, I've been doing this for 6 months, I might as well keep going, even though the better move is to change that food completely, maybe, right? That's just a quick example that I tried to make up with food, but you could think of how this would affect other areas of life as well, like work life. If you're working on the wrong projects but you've been working on it for 6 months already, you think, I better keep working on this because I already lost 6 months to it, instead of switching projects. Meanwhile, switching projects might be the best possible bet for you at that time. And so we have this loss aversion bias. It's a cognitive bias that we all have, and it can stop us from, letting go of some of the things that aren't serving us anymore, because we just feel like we've already committed so much time and energy to this thing. But meanwhile, switching that thing could be the best move for some people. So that loss aversion does keep some people stuck. And there's also the idea of loss of identity that can keep people stuck as well. So if you're thinking like, a lot of people that get Lyme disease end up becoming very health oriented, and they orient their whole life around being healthy, which is an amazing thing. And that's what it ends up teaching us long term, is to show up for our health and to be consistent and proactive about our health instead of reactive and waiting for bad things to happen before we take action. And that's one of the big things that Lyme disease taught me. But what happens is you create an identity of yourself, right? And it could be this healthy identity, right? And I was talking today about people who don't get better from Lyme disease over the long term. Like they keep getting worse and worse and worse instead of better. So like the exact opposite of what you want to see. And these people eventually reach a state of despair. They don't have any hope left. Then eventually, hopefully, they come and talk to me. And when they do, it's important for me to remind them that if they're taking a 2-page list of supplements, they're likely overloading their body. They're likely doing too much, and it's holding them back. And so a big part of stopping some of the things that they're doing is that loss aversion, and it's also that loss of identity. They don't want to look at themselves differently by changing their protocol. They say, this is my protocol. Look at all, and it's not just a protocol to them. It's something that they've built up over years and years of knowledge and study and breaking things down and trying to understand the human body better and understand their body better. So there's this emotional tie to this protocol that they're using as well sometimes. And then they have a loss of identity by switching that protocol because they're saying, this is what is keeping me healthy. This is what is helping me right now, they believe. And they find something new, they stack that onto it. They find another thing new, they stack that on. And before you know it, they're taking so much stuff that they're just overloaded, overwhelmed, and they're not getting the results that they wanted in the first place. And sometimes we need to back off and let the body work through the stuff that it already has. And then from there, we can rebuild a program that's simpler and more precise and more tailored to that specific body and actually moves the ball forward with consistency over time. So doing fewer number of things, but being more intentional about what those things are. It's kind of like if you had a punch card, let's say you could only choose a certain number of things to take, right? And then operating in that mind frame allows you to be very, very intentional about the specific things that you choose, because they're the only things you could choose. There's no other option. You can't go backwards. You can't change it. That would lead to a much better healing protocol long term if you had that mindset going in that I won't be able to change this. This is the one time that I make the decision. Now, that's not necessarily true. That's obviously not true. You can always change your protocols and what you're taking and what you're eating every single day. And so it's just a thought experiment to say that if you were to have that mind frame of narrowing it down and being intentional, it would likely work better than just building and building and building your protocol bigger and bigger. And let me remind you that there is an extended protocol usually in the back of these books that we read that give us protocols. There's an extended protocol, right? Like if you read Healing Lyme by Stephen Herod Booner, the famous herbalist, you will see that there's a protocol and it's the main protocol. And most of that protocol is in the Lyme Wars recovery kit at lymewars.com. But then he has the extended protocol. Now, the purpose of that extended protocol is not to invite people to then take a massive list of supplements. The purpose is to then be methodical and intentional about what specifically works for your body and your body alone, and what symptoms you're dealing with, and trying to recover from those specific symptoms, because sometimes just lifting symptoms a little bit can give people hope and pull them out of that hole of despair that they've been in, and that can then lead to much more progress as well. So what I'm trying to say is don't follow the extended protocol as if that's the best protocol. More is not always better. In fact, with your health, it often is not as good, right? We want to be less, we want to do less things, and we want to do them exceptionally well, and we want to do them for an extended period of time. That is what moves the ball when it comes to your body. The body works on averages over time. It doesn't just change immediately or flip a switch. And that's something we just have to learn through the process of having to go through this healing journey. Now, it's important to say, if you are in that place of despair, or you do feel like things are really, really hard right now, one of the bravest things you can do, and we all want to be brave, right? We all want to say we lived a brave life at the end of this thing, at least a little bit. And one of the bravest things we can do is to have hope. You know, it's way easier to give up. It's way more accepted, really, to just say, I don't have the tools. I can't do it. To just say I can't do it and then to just give up. It's a lot more difficult to have hope and to maintain hope even when things get hard. And it's brave. It shows courage to be the one that has hope, because if you have hope and it doesn't work out the way you believe it's going to work out with that hope, it feels like a major loss. It feels like massive pain emotionally. So it requires courage and bravery to have hope. But you've got to try your best to keep that hope alive. Sometimes it's the only thing that can keep people going. So if I were talking to a younger version of myself, these are some of the things I would probably say. I would say, yeah, it's really difficult right now. You have to be brave. This is your opportunity, as I was talking about earlier, your opportunity to practice bravery, to practice courage. And Lyme disease has taught me so much that I'll just keep doing whatever I can to help more people like myself and like you to keep going. You can take back your body and feel like yourself again. As a reminder, I haven't had any symptoms now in about 9 years. I have more energy than I did back then for sure. And I use it up every day with, all types of stuff, regular adult stuff, and playing with kids, which is regular adult stuff. But also playing soccer and snowboarding, and those are my two favorite sports, so I do those as well. But that's beyond the point. I'm just saying I feel great. I have a lot of energy now. I don't have any pains or anything wrong with my heart, all after, the deep focus that I went on with my specific body and created a protocol that worked deliberately for me and stayed consistent with that for over a year. And I now help other people do exactly the same thing. And you can get started at LymeWars.com, or you can reach out to me at help@LymeDiseaseWars.com as well. And I will drop that in the chat. Email me, help@LymeDiseaseWars.com. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here for you. I just wanted to pop in today, stay consistent with the routine, and say some words from the heart. Hopefully this resonates with you. Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from everyone. I love meeting new people and experiencing life together. So just reach out. Let's get connected and, keep going. You can do this. I've been there and I've seen thousands of other people go through this, and I know you can get better. You can take back your body. Just keep that hope alive and keep pushing forward. Okay? And I'll see you in the next video. I hope you're watching the Lyme Wars podcast. We drop episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. It's been for the past couple weeks now. I'm going to try and keep that going. We have an episode coming out tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled, and let's keep doing our best to take our body to where it needs to be, at least to where we feel like we have some control again, like we have a little bit of that spark of life coming back alive. That's my goal for you, and I hope you have the same goal for yourself. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.